All right. Well, thanks all for coming tonight. So this is more or less an informational meeting about Camp Fairview. We're very excited that we're going to be able to take the sixth graders to camp this year. We missed last year for obvious reasons. We do have a good sized group. We've got about 76 sixth graders this year, so that's exciting. We'll be taking about 20 high schoolers with us as camp counselors. And we also have about 12 to 14 staff members who will be going as well. So there's plenty of supervision, but also we break into groups throughout the days for whether it's meals or lessons and cabins and things like that, where we have plenty of adults around too. With all of that said, I know this is new for most people here, unless you have some older siblings that have attended before. So what I really wanted to be able to do is give a clearer picture. Usually our Camp Fairview introduction happens at back to school night and we head to camp in November. So unfortunately, or fortunately, I guess, we've moved our trip to the spring. Weather-wise, that might be very fortunate, but I know it was disappointing back in the fall for our sixth graders that it got pushed back. But at any rate, hopefully we'll have weather like we do this week and it'll be a great experience because we're outdoors really all day long. So with that, I just wanted to share my screen. So let me jump in. I have lots of things open here. But our Camp Fairview packet that came home through email recently from sixth grade teachers recently this week, there's a parent guide, and then students will also get a student guide for themselves too. That's a little bit more student friendly for them to kind of get more familiar with camp too. Even before I jump into that, just a quick kind of update on where we are. So we know how many sixth graders we have. Our high school counselors need to submit applications for approval by Friday this week. And then Carly Isabella Murin, one of our high school counselors, is our point person at the high school that will be working with sixth grade teachers, myself, Mr. Miller, Mrs. Quinones, to work with the high schoolers and determine which counselors out of who's applied will actually attend camp with us. So right now, I can't tell you like a list of camp high school counselors that are going to come with us, just because, like I said, applications are due Friday. There is a process we go through to determine who will be able to join us. I have been made aware of a couple of sporting events that are happening while we're at camp, which may make some of the applicants not able to join us. So I really can't guess at this point even which camp counselors are going to come with us. But just kind of a heads up, there is a process there. After we have all the applicants and the number of counselors, as I mentioned earlier, about 20 high school counselors will come with us. We will meet with them, Mr. Miller, Mrs. Quinones, Mrs. Isabella Murin, myself, meet with the counselors, and we basically talk with them. We go up to the high school, we meet with them during their unit lunchtime, and we just review with them the expectations, that the rules that apply to sixth graders apply to the high schoolers. We talk about that many sixth graders may never have slept away from home before this experience, which is one of our goals, just to get them that experience as well, and that sense of confidence and empowerment and so forth. So we talked to them, though, that there is a lot of anxiety for some students going into a sleepaway camp, especially after the last couple of years with COVID. So we talked to them about being really sensitive to that. We also talk about the counselors knowing that we, as the staff members, the teachers and administrators that are on the trip, it's fine to come wake us up if needed at night, knock on our door. That's what we're here for. Tell us if there's something even questionable that you want our support with. So we're really there to support our counselors as well as our sixth graders to make it the best experience possible. So we will have that meeting after the counselors are identified, and then we'll go from there. But so you've seen the parent guide. I'm not going to go through, obviously the dates in here are from the fall, but we're going April 11th, 12th, and 13th. It's a Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. We usually would leave Monday morning. Kids will come into school around their normal time and leave right after buses drop off as close as possible. And then we usually get back on that third day about 1:30 in that time frame, just to give you a ballpark idea of timing. That'll all be more solidified as we get closer, as we finalize everything. This year, there is the extended day trip option on both Monday and Tuesday. The survey, I really appreciate those of you that were able to fill out the survey. We had about 75% return rate, which is great for a survey. And the majority of people are planning to stay overnight, which is wonderful. It really is a good experience. And so we're looking forward to that, but we will have the extended day trip option, not just on Tuesday, as the initial survey mentioned, but also on Monday. So students that may be more comfortable coming up just for the day on Monday, and then again on Tuesday, do have that option, and they would be dropped off each morning. Obviously, they'd come up with their classmates Monday morning for the first day, but then a bus would come back up Monday night, right around 4:30. That's when we do a rec time prior to dinner to pick up students to take them home that evening if they're not staying overnight. It is about an hour and a half drive. And so with that, we're hopeful that, if they leave around 4:30, they're home at a decent hour for their regular dinner time back at home, because knowing if they're coming back on Tuesday, they want to be able to also get a good night's sleep and be ready for the bus Tuesday morning. All right, so about camp, some of the areas of study, we do lots of different activities. These are samples really, but most of these are pretty standard or staple activities that we do. One that the kids really love is the ridge hike. They actually get to go on part of the Appalachian Trail. It's a beautiful view. We're outdoors, like I said, the entire time. All of these are outdoor activities, rain or shine, unless there's thunder and lightning. We are outside, so that's really fun. And you see students really take advantage of that love, we don't get to see that side of students in the classroom. It's really nice to see them out getting their hands dirty, building survival huts and things like that. It's a great experience. General information, this is more or less packing around bedding. So the bunk beds, and I do have some images, I can show you what the cabins look like, but they are bunk beds, twin mattress size, but typically students bring like sleeping bags with them. A pillow is necessary. There are not pillows in the cabins. And then any other blankets or things that they may need. But they don't want to pack too heavy because they do have to lug everything themselves. So that's really important. They are responsible for carrying all of their materials, both into camp and then back out to the bus. As far as other things, this is another kind of about like social emotional learning and learning how to build independence. Students are responsible for cleaning their own cabins. Typically, we have students taking turns to wipe down tables in the dining hall and things like that. They get their own chair for meals and bring it to the table and things. Snacks aren't allowed in the cabins just because we don't want critters in the cabins. The electronics, cell phones are allowed to be brought and used as cameras, and that's the main purpose of them. We do not encourage, and we ask students not to use cell phones for things other than cameras. The service there is really not very good at all. Cell phone batteries die very quickly if you try to use it for much more, but they do bring their cell phones to be used as cameras. And in the guide, it did mention that we would collect cell phones at night. And I was talking with a parent earlier today about that. We do say that in the past, there have been some cabins where we haven't had to collect the cell phones, but the whole goal there is we don't want students not sleeping and being on their cell phones. So we want to make sure they get a good night's sleep. And so we ask them to put them aside at night. No money is necessary at all. There really is not an option to purchase anything at camp. So bringing money just is an opportunity to get it lost, unfortunately. So it's really better to not bring money. You might have seen a link to the trading post where students can purchase like spirit wear or camp wear in advance of going to camp, but there wouldn't be an opportunity to go to a gift shop or anything like that at camp. We really are outdoors and in nature. In case of emergency, our staff members, that's what we're there for. We will have a nurse coming up with us during the day. And then also we have certified teachers in first aid for the evening. And obviously we have access to 911 and camp staff as well in the evenings, but more information will come out around anybody with specific medical needs we'd want to be made aware of if our nurses are not already aware of. like a need for a medication prior to bed or first thing in the morning that maybe we wouldn't know about because it's outside of a normal school day. So that's all important things to notify your child's nurse at either LPS or West Amwell in advance. The COVID protocols I outlined in our the most recent communication, but I'll kind of talk through the whole day. I'm going to go past the packing list. You saw that. The general schedule, I'll take this opportunity to kind of jump in. So what it will look like is students will arrive at school, and then at their normal time, we are going to have 3 separate buses, or it'll be more than 3 buses, but we'll have a bus that takes Lambertville students, buses for West Amwell students, and buses for our high school students and the luggage. So students will be transporting their luggage, up into the bus, and then usually the high schoolers help get that on the bus and load it. So for the bus ride, which is about an hour and a half, we will not have Lambertville West Amwell students mixing. This is more COVID protocol, but quite honestly, in the past, we never did either, just because keeping things separated and getting out on time, it seemed to work better to have separate buses. It also helps that when students get back on the buses for the ride home and parent pickup, when we get back to school is much smoother too. So buses are separated by school. And then we'll get to camp. We'll have time for basically some of our activities on the first day. We get to know each other a little bit, meet the camp staff that are there from Camp Fairview. We do a lunch, and I'll take this opportunity. I'm going to switch to this tab. Here's just a picture of the dining hall, just to kind of give you a visual of what it looks like. I know it's a little blurry. I pulled it from the internet. This is one picture. Back here, I hope you can see the cursor that I'm moving around. Right where I'm moving it up and down here, that's a dividing wall. Typically, that wall would be closed, and we would just use this space in the front for our entire group. For this trip, we're actually going to have that wall open, and you'll see like a stone fireplace, if you can sort of see it back there, and a middle section. We'll have both of those sections with tables spread out so we can space out even more than what we would typically do in the past. And that gives us just more space and things for while we're eating. In addition, so students will come into the dining hall, they'll grab a stack. I'm going to scroll to the next picture. I know this one's a little dark, and these tables are much closer together. This is what it used to look like in a typical experience, but because we'll be using 2 sections, they'll be even more spaced out. But students will be responsible for grabbing a chair from the stack of chairs, bringing it to their table, and taking a seat. And then, as opposed to family style eating or buffet style meetings, students will be called by table to come up and get their meals and be served by staff members there with gloves and so forth. So that's what the dining hall looks like. They did tell me too, if the weather permits, there's also some outside dining that may be an option. We'll see how the weather is. So there's even more opportunity to spread out than just within the dining hall itself. So after lunch, we go into lesson groups where students are mixed, but again, all outdoors. And these are sample activities. In the evening, we have like a recreation time. And these are some samples too, like boating or climbing wall. There's actually an indoor climbing wall that we've used in the past. Boating is always fun to watch the students try to maneuver a rowboat. They usually all end up in a clump of boats, but it's always well supervised and a lot of fun. They have a really good time. And then we go in for dinner, and then evening activities. We do a presentation in the evening. There's also campfire, storytelling, skits, and things like that. I'm not going to talk a lot about the skits because there are some surprises in there from some of our high schoolers that like to entertain the students, but it's just a nice time. And then we go back for lights out around 10 o'clock. And then the students return the next morning to the dining hall for breakfast again, and then we have a full day of 4 lesson groups that would happen throughout that second day. And again, by the evening, we lights out around the same time, about 10:15, and then into what would be our Wednesday, April 13th, we would be leaving camp that day around 1 o'clock. I'm sorry, not 1 o'clock. We'll arrive back at school in the South Hunterdon district around 1 o'clock. And often at that point, students would would probably text a parent or something on the bus saying, we're just about home. We also keep in close contact with those back in the buildings too, of when our arrival will be, in case, so that messages can go out specifically about our exact time of arrival, depending on traffic and things. But it is before the end of the school day, and students do get picked up at that time and go home at that time with their luggage. So just something to be aware of. All right, so this is the Lincoln things to the spirit wear. I'm gonna jump back to the pictures. So after the meals and the night presentations and things, our students will go to their cabins. And that's one thing that many of our students have questions about, right? What does the cabin look like? This is, again, kind of a blurry picture, but it's a cabin. It's rustic, but not so rustic. I think students initially think, oh, there's not going to be electric or hot water or anything, you know, but it is actually a cabin. There is electric, there's lights, there's water, hot and cold. The bunk beds are kind of primitive, you know, so you can see you definitely want that pillow and sleeping bag for comfort. There are windows in the cabin. This is the front door of a cabin. So you're kind of standing in the cabin looking backwards at the door, looking outside. The next picture gives you another view of more or less standing at this door looking into the cabin. So when you look into the cabin, you'll see the way the bunk beds are set up, the windows again. These bunk beds back here do not have windows. They're up against the interior wall. And this is the bathroom right here. The bathrooms have this solid door that closes. And inside the bathroom, there's a space for 3 or 4 stalls with closing doors as well, and then sinks just across from those. And then in the back of the bathroom, which you can't see from this picture, I apologize, I don't have a better picture for that, but in the back of the bathroom is a single shower stall. So it's a standing shower stall. There's a curtain there, and there's also hooks to, you know, hang your towel and clothes and shampoo, soap. There's a shelf and a bench. So students typically, I don't know if you saw in my email, but there we'll have about 10 students in it, or up to 10 students in a cabin. In our conversations with the camp counselors, we talk about coordinating the bathroom use, and we remind them too before we head them back to the cabins for the night for that lights out. We just remind them, you know, there's 10 of you in a cabin, there's 1 shower. So you want to decide if, number one, if you're going to take a shower or not, because many 6th graders choose not to, many counselors choose not to take showers. But if they are, they want to schedule it so they're not all trying to, you know, manage time in the morning or in the evening. So they usually split it. And it's very private, obviously, with the solid door there and 1 shower happening at a time. Let's see, just another picture of what the cabins look like. There's a little bit of storage, but they really keep their things sort of under the bed, or if you have a top bunk is usually when you'd use this space in between, like the shelf or something. Oh, and then I found this really beautiful picture of a couple of years ago, this huge lodge was built on Camp Fairview, and that's like the primary lodge that overlooks the lake. And you can see that, again, it's a little blurry because I enlarged it, but where the cursor is here, like where the boats are and things that the students would go out in the evenings during that rec time too. So there is that. What else? The code of conduct, the cell phone guides, that was all in the packet. This, oh, and I just lost that connection. And, I don't know why that's happening, but it looks like I'm missing that. At the end, there's their medical form, and there's also the form that would, it's like a liability form or a waiver that Camp Fairview asks everyone to complete and fill out too. But that's all in the packet that you had emailed to you. So I just want to stop sharing here. And so as we get ready for camp, so kind of looking ahead to where we're going from here. So as I mentioned, camp counselors will submit applications by the end of this week. They'll be selected by the following week. And then that week after that is when administration and Ms. Isabella Miron would meet with the counselors to talk with them about expectations and so forth at South. And then also prior to, in that final week before leaving for camp, we bring the sixth graders up to the high school to have an opportunity to do a meet the counselors session. We do like team building just so they get to know each other. And all sixth graders also have the opportunity, or not the opportunity, they all get a list of who's going to be in their cabin for their time at camp. And we try to do that close to camp, typically a couple of days prior. My thought would be on like Wednesday or Thursday prior to leaving for camp is when they'd find that out. And our main goal is just to make sure that everybody's comfortable. So we make changes. We have made changes in the past just to, make sure this year, knowing that we're not mixing students in the cabin. So like West Amwell students will be with West Amwell students, Lambertville students will be with Lambertville students. So they know each other pretty well. Most students have been with each other for years. It's the high school counselors that they'd be meeting in some cases, but again, they're counselors that are familiar with our students in our community too, and they will have had the opportunity to meet those counselors prior to heading off to camp too. So that information would all come out like midweek or Thursday before we go, and then we adjust as needed from there. So I'm not sure if there's any questions at this point. Am I doing with time? So we have another family math night tonight too. So I know we have the 5:45, so we do have time for questions. Janelle, I see your hand raised.
Thank you. Just a quick question. I know the students from the two elementaries won't be mixed in terms of the cabins, but for all of the other activities, do they, like, I assume, because I think one of the points is for them to like get to know kids from the other school, before they get to middle school. So how much are they integrated during the day activities or at the meals or things like that?
So that's a great question, and I was hoping to specify that. Thanks for bringing it up. So yes, they are integrated all day long. So some of our major concerns in talking with the health department and so forth, areas that we were more concerned about were the bus ride, because it's an hour and a half, and cabins at night. At night, they're not going to be wearing masks when they're sleeping. We have the windows, we have fewer kids in cabins and things. So, but still we took the precaution of keeping kids separated at those two times. But the rest of the day, so their lesson groups, their rec time, their meal time, the night presentations, we do a night hike, actually, time around the campfire, the whole rest of the day, they are integrated. Manisha.
I actually have two questions. The first one is about the high school students. Are they juniors and seniors, or is it all through like 9th through 12th graders?
That's a good question. So we allowed applications to come in from 10th, 11th, and 12th graders. So sophomores, juniors, and seniors. We do start off looking at our juniors and seniors first, realizing especially our seniors who are about to graduate, we want to make sure they get the opportunity to go if they want to and they're a good fit. But yeah, 10th, 11th, and 12th graders are invited to apply.
Okay, thank you. And then the second question was about the meals. What if, like, for dietary restrictions, or, are they going to have options? Because I understand that. Okay.
Thank you for bringing that up, because that's another good one. Is that if there is a dietary restriction or something, please let us know in advance. Let your child's homeroom teacher know, because we will notify camp, and they've been great about doing vegan options, vegetarian options, other things. Some cases, I will say there's been times where parents might send some snacks that we hold on to if there's a medical need for some different types of foods and things too, but we're happy to do that. We do have access to like a small refrigerator if there's like juice boxes necessary, things like that.
Yeah.
Any other questions? It's really nice to have the opportunity to share this, because I know students can be a little anxious, and parents too, sometimes more so, right? So it's great for you to have the visuals as well. And please know the kids are asking questions all the time too. And so teachers are answering questions in the classroom. And myself, Mrs. Quinones, Mr. Miller, we're all here to, we've been doing this now with students for a number of years. So I think Dave and Wanda, it's what, 6 years now, 7 years, something like that. Yeah. So for me, I think it's about 15. So we've experienced all kinds of things. We've had snow at camp in the fall. So if you have questions, please reach out. But otherwise, I'm here to answer them. So thank you for coming tonight. I'm going to stop the recording and wish you all a good night. We hope to see you at math night. It's at LPS and starts at 6.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.
I think I'm going to log out and I will see you at LPS, Wanda, right?
All right. Absolutely. Good night. Bye, Mr. Miller.
Take care.
See you tomorrow.